Welcome to this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on culture and identity. In this video we're going to look at the work of Heidi Mirza on ethnic identities. Heidi Sophia Mirza is a prominent British sociologist known for her research on race, ethnicity and gender, particularly within the context of education and identity formation. Mirza's work focuses on how issues of ethnicity intersect with other social factors, such as gender and class, and how these intersections shape the identity and experiences of individuals from ethnic minority backgrounds. Her research provides a critical view on issues of racism, structural inequality, and the agency of marginalised groups, particularly women of colour. In this video, we're going to look at the key themes in Mirza's work, such as the role of education in shaping ethnic identity, the concept of resistance and agency among ethnic minority women, and how structural racism impacts identity formation in the United Kingdom. A central concept in Mirza's work is intersectionality, the idea that individuals experience multiple overlapping forms of oppression based upon their ethnicity, gender, class, and other social characteristics. This concept, originally developed by the legal scholar Kimberly Crenshaw, is crucial to understanding how different forms of discrimination interact to shape people's identities and experiences. Mirza applies intersectionality to examine the lives of black women and other ethnic minority women in Britain, highlighting how their experiences are shaped by both racism and sexism. She argues that traditional sociological analysis often focuses too much on one dimension of inequality, such as ethnicity, while neglecting others like gender or class. In doing so, they fail to capture the complexity of how people experience identity and oppression. For example, in her research on education, Mirza demonstrated how young black women's identities are shaped by their experiences of both racial stereotyping and gendered expectations. She argues that teachers often have lower expectations for black girls, seeing them through the lens of both racism, assuming they're less capable, and sexism, expecting them to be passive or subordinate. These stereotypes affect how these girls view themselves and how they're treated in the classroom, shaping their identity formation. Mirza's most influential work has been in the field of education, where she's explored how race and ethnicity shape the educational experiences and identities of ethnic minority students. Her 1992 book, Young, Female and Black, is one of the most important contributions to the field. In it, Mirza explores the experiences of young black women in British schools, focusing on how they navigate a system that is often hostile to their presence. One of Mirza's key findings is that schools often function as sites of institutional racism, where ethnic minority students, particularly black students, are marginalised through both explicit and implicit forms of racism. For example, black students are often subjected to negative stereotypes from teachers, who may perceive them as disruptive, underachieving or lacking motivation. These stereotypes can lead to discriminatory practices such as high rates of school exclusions, lower teacher expectations, and being placed in lower academic sets. Mirza's research shows how these practices have a profound impact on the identity of ethnic minority students. Many black students, for instance, become aware of how they are racialized by the education system, which in turn shapes their sense of self. Some may internalise the negative perceptions imposed on them, while others resist these labels and construct alternative identities. Mirza highlights the importance of agency and resistance in her work, showing that despite the constraints of institutional racism, many young people actively challenge the negative identities that are imposed upon them. For example, black girls in her study were found to develop strategies of resistance, such as forming strong support networks with peers or adopting a more defiant attitudes towards teachers. This resistance is part of their identity formation, as they refuse to accept the roles and labels imposed upon them by a racist educational system. Instead, they create their own identities and reflect their strength, resilience, and determination to succeed. Another key theme in Mirza's work is the agency of ethnic minority women, particularly black women, in resisting oppression and creating their own identities. In much of her research, Mirza emphasises that these women are not passive victims of racism or sexism. Instead, they actively resist these forms of oppression and assert their own identities in powerful ways. In her 1997 edited collection, Black British Feminism, Mirza brings together the voices of black British women to highlight how they navigate and resist the multiple oppressions that they face. She argues that black women's resistance is not only about fighting back against racism and sexism, but also about asserting a positive sense of self and community. This is a form of cultural resistance, where black women reject the negative stereotypes imposed on them and instead celebrate their cultural heritage and identity. Mirza's work challenges the notion that ethnic minority women are always oppressed in the same ways as their male counterparts or as white women. Instead, she shows that their experiences of oppression are different and require a unique analysis. This is where intersectionality becomes crucial, as it allows sociologists to explore how these women's identities are shaped by the interplay of race, gender, and class. Another important aspect of Mirza's work is her analysis of structural racism, the idea that racism is embedded within the social, political, and economic structures of society, rather than just existing at the level of individual prejudice. She argues that structural racism has a significant impact on the identity formation of ethnic minority individuals, particularly in terms of how they are perceived and treated by institutions like schools, the labour market, and the criminal justice system. For example, in the education system, structural racism manifests in the form of lower expectations for ethnic minority students, biased curricula that fail to reflect the histories and experiences of non-white communities, and disciplinary policies that disproportionately target black and other minority students. These practices send powerful messages to ethnic minority young people about their place in society and their worth, which in turn affects their sense of identity. Mirza argues it's important to challenge these structures in order to create a more equitable society where people of all ethnic backgrounds can develop positive and empowered identities. Her work emphasises the need for policies that address institutional discrimination and promote equality of opportunity for ethnic minority groups, particularly in areas like education and employment. Heidi Mirza's work on ethnicity and identity offers crucial insights into how race, gender, and class intersect to shape the experiences and identities of ethnic minority individuals, particularly women of colour. Through her research, Mirza has highlighted the role of education in shaping ethnic identity, the importance of resistance and agency among ethnic minority women, and the pervasive impact of structural racism on identity formation. Mirza's work challenges traditional sociological perspectives that fail to consider the complexity of identity and highlights the need for an intersectional approach that takes into account the multiple dimensions of inequality that shape people's lives. By focusing on the lived experiences of ethnic minority women, Mirza not only sheds light on the challenges they face, but also celebrates their strength, resilience, and capacity for resistance in the face of adversity. That concludes this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on culture and identity, looking at the work of Heidi Mirza on ethnic identities. Thanks for watching.